Дозвольте мені представити нашого професора. Let me introduce, maybe it will be better if I talk English. Let me introduce Professor Amit Kumar, professor from Integral University, Lucknow. It's from India. Professor is our friend, a friend of our university, especially our department. And today, Professor agreed to give lecture for students of our department, and maybe tomorrow for students of our department. So, Professor, we start.
Yeah, definitely. So, please allow me to share the presentation.
Yes. Тетяна Олександрівна, є дозвіл презентації?
Перепрошую. Так, є. Угу.
Visible?
Yes, everything is clear now.
So let me start with a note. Good morning and Dobra Utra to all the Ukrainian students and professors of Simon and Kharkiv National University of Economics, Kharkiv. It is a very difficult moment for entire Ukraine, that from last one year you all are facing the war and a difficult situation started by the Russia. And with this current scenario, I am taking the topic of impact of Russia-Ukraine war on the economic scenario of the world, which is the requirement of the time now. So if we have made a presentation in some important key points which directly affects the global economy or the world economy with this war. So first is global inflation outlook. If we see that the global inflation rate around the world is rising day by day, cost increases of various categories from global inflation, impact of Russia-Ukraine war on inflation. Second point that we covered is effect of inflation on the world economy. This is World Consumer Price Index timeline will change with the commodity price. Decline in global GDP growth from 2022 to 2023. Rise in global inflation rate from 2022 to 2023. And impact of GDP and inflation in the financial year 2022. The third point or the third aspects we are covered under the presentation is effect of Russia-Ukraine war on inflation, global inflation and GDP weaknesses, wages inflation and unemployment. War hits global unemployment rate. Tanya, you have to translate the thing, or should I continue in English only? Hello, is I'm audible?
Professor, hello?
Yeah, is I'm audible?
Yes.
So you have to translate it, or I have to speak in English only?
No. Every student understand English, so you can speak English without translation.
Thank you. War impact on different commodities prices. Russian products share an increase in the commodity prices, increase in oil and gas prices, increase in food and other commodity prices, and the last is price change in exports commodity. The second point, the second phase is that we have to cover is sanction on the Russian economy, sanction imposed on the Russian economy by the other countries, Russian economic crisis and unpredictable sanction, economic and GDP impact on Russian Federation, impact of war on the major economy. If we see that war has only the nation, but it also affects the entire globe by Asia region, European Union, major impact on Indian economy, American economy, Australian economy, and China. Measures to control the inflation. US Central Bank increased the interest rate, minimizes sanctioning on the Russia to control inflation, stop invasion of Ukraine to control the inflation. From this picture, we can find clearly see that the word inflation varies on the various parameters or on the various aspects like crude oil, natural gas, wheat, fertilizers, and sunflower oil. If it's specifically focus on the crude oil, Russia exports 6.5 million barrel of oil a day. Natural gas, Russia accounts for 17% of natural gas products. Wheat, Ukraine and Russia account for 29% of the wheat export. Sunflower oil, Ukraine and Russia account for the 75% of the sunflower of the export, in which Ukraine is the major exporter of the sunflower oil in the entire world. If you are talking about the fertilizers, Russia accounts 15% of the global trade in the nitrogen fertilizer and 17% global potash fertilizer exporter. If you are talking about the energy, many European countries are heavily depending on the Russian energy, particularly gas through several vital pipelines. Even if the conflict comes to an end, there is a possibility that harsh economic sanctions on the Russia would make it difficult to those countries will able to import extra gas. Meanwhile, the oil prices struggled on the Wednesday as suggested the dispute maintained from the sanctioning on the Russian banks. Burden crude futures rose by more than $8, touching the peak of $113.02 a barrel. That is the highest since June 2014 before easing to $111.53 per barrel by $6.56 or 6.23%. From this picture, we can see that the prices in the specifically in the United Kingdom, the gas prices rises again in the October. You can see from the picture that the graph is continuously increasing since the war started in Ukraine and Russia, and after that it rose to 54%, which is the maximum rise in the prices of gas through the European Union and through Ukraine. If we are talking about the transport, while the global transport already served disputes in the math of pandemic, with the war is also created further problem. The transport mode likely to be affected by the ocean shipping and railway flights. While railway carries only a small proportion of the total flight between Asia and Europe, countries like Lufthansa are accepting to see that rail traffic served effectively by the sanctioning against Russia. If we are talking about the supply chain, that is a major concern entire world with this war, the world unexpectedly reboot recovery from the pandemic recession left companies to find enough raw material and components to the product goods to meet the surgical customers' demand. Overwhelmed factories, ports, flight yards has, have met shortage, ship delays on high prices. Dispute to Russia and Ukraine, industry can delay and another return to the normal condition. If you are talking about the edible oil, Ukraine alone makes up almost half of the export of sunflower oil. It harvests and proceeds the hindrance of war torn Ukraine and exports are blocked. Import will struggle to replace the suppliers. In India, with the several threats of the supply disputes, companies are left with not many options, but to consider high price of daily consumption edible oil within a week. If you are talking about the food grains, Ukraine and Russia accounting for 30% of the world exports of wheat. 19% of corn and 80% of sunflower oil, which is used for the food processing. Much of the Russian and Ukraine bonds goods to poor and unstable countries like Yemen, Libya, reports Assistant Press. The threat of farmers in eastern Ukraine and cut off the export through Black Sea port could be reduced the food supply. Just when the prices are at highest level since 2011 and some countries are suffering from the food shortage. From this picture, we can see that the prices of some food staples are rise after the Russia and Ukraine war. Wheat, soybean, and palm oil are continuously increasing after the breakthrough of this war. This report is published in KPMG report in 2022. Rising price. The Ukrainian war consequences the high risk moment of Federal Reserve and other central bank. There are caught off guard by severe the inflation over the past year. The consequently, the mostly of the economy unaccepted the strong recovery. In January, US consumer price rose 7.5% from a year earlier, the biggest jump since 1982. In Europe, figure of Wednesday shows the inflation according to 5.8% last month comparing with the year earlier is 19th century that US used the euro currency. Auto sector, that is the most important sector for any economy because most of the people or the citizens of the country is using the automobile for their day-to-day life, and the automobile sector is expected to hit hard by the war. Rise in oil prices, continuously shortage of semiconductor and chips and other rare earthy materials is likely to be added the industry worse. Besides, Ukraine is also the home to many companies which manufacture car components for automakers. As a report, this is the Wall Street Journal reported that with the supplier's wire system made in Ukraine to the Europe Automobiles Company has shut down two factories in the country. Consequently, Volkswagen has shut down one of its plants in Germany. Impact on Indian economy. If we are talking about the Russia and Ukraine war on an Indian economy, after the Russia announced the military operation in Ukraine, BSE benchmark Sensex crashes 27 points, while Nifty plug 115 points. Sensex on February 24th, 2022 witnessed its worst fall in March 2022, which was COVID pandemic broke out, while it is an index of fourth worst fall ever. Over the next month, the Sensex and Nifty recovers, but the benchmark indicate witnesses there is a worst fall since Ukraine war in June. India's inflation and RBI rate hike. The Russia-Ukraine war has crippled the global supply chain, triggered the global food shortage, consequently the result in high inflation rate in the country. Reserve Bank of India in February 2022, before the Ukraine conflict starts, has projected the average inflation of 4.5% for the financial year 23 as COVID-19 cases were decreases. Geographical tension overturns the macro conditions of the nation as the price of crude oil, metals, foods increases unpredictably. In India, inflation touches a peak of 7.8% in April 2022, within a span of 2 months. The average inflation during the May-November 2022 peaks remains at 6.8%. India's crude import. Russia invaded on Ukraine, resulting in numerous sanctions by the west of Moscow. The Western nation includes European Union nation that meets 40% of the natural oil needs from Moscow, restricted their purchase from Russia. To limit the Russian revenue from oil export, G7 nation in December imposed a price cap of $60 per barrel on the crude products. The Petroleum Planning and Analysis Cell shows that India reliance on crude oil import increases by 87% in April to December 2022, while Iraq was the India's top supplier of the crude oil during this period. Now we are coming to the end, and if we have to conclude the entire presentation, we will find that in February 2022, the world was shocked by the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. The most of the significant consequences of the war between Russia and Ukraine is the life loss and the humanities crisis associated with a large number of population besides and displaced. However, there are also many important economic impacts which affects all over the world. Russia, Ukraine are major producer and exporters of key food items, minerals, and energy, although they are relatively small output terms. The war has already causes significant economic and financial shocks, particularly in commodity market where the prices of the oil, gas, wheat have been shocked rapidly. Movements in the commodity prices and financial market seen since the breakout of the war, if sustained, could reduce the global GDP growth by more than 1% point of first year, resulting in deep recession in Russia and push the global consumer price index by around 2.5% points. Well-designed and careful target financial support can be reduce the negative impact of the growth by adding only a small extra boost to the inflation. In some countries, this could be financially financed by the taxation and windfall profit. The war has pointed up the important minimizing dependency on the Russia for the key energy import. Policymakers should consider the appropriateness of the market design with a view to ensure energy security to create incidents in the places to ensure the green transformation in publical support way. The result of the war conflict as a rapid worst outlooking of the world economy underpinned by the rising food, fuel, fertilizer prices, high financial volatility, sustainable development, disinvestment, complex growth, supply chain, and reconfiguration and a rise in trade cost. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your lecture, and thank you for your support for Ukraine, especially. Thank you. I hope our students have a lot of questions. So, students who have questions. Students.
Hi, I got one. Nika Lukin.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, I got a question to Professor. Do you think India can be used as a way to avoid sanctions by Russia? And if so, is there a way to stop it, or how do you deal with that? Thank you.
No, if you are talking about the removal of the sanction, as far as India is concerned, India is never in support of removing or imposing of sanctioning on any country. Recently, we have a G20 summit in India where the leaders of across many countries were present and participated in that meeting. In that meeting also, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has also tried to put the pressure on the stop of the war, on the mutual discussion between the Prime Minister, with the President of Ukraine and with President of Russia. And as far as the sanctioning is concerned, our Indian government will never be in support of removing or imposing of any sanctioning on any country.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Who have question?
Hello, it's Elena. I have a question. As I know, the economic of China now is in recession. it's not in lockdown, but very poor economic. And what do you think about the possible conflict between China and Taiwan? Is it possible for China now?
Uh, Actually, China is suffering with the recession because not because of the pandemic. There are several other reasons behind the recession of China. As you all know, the media is now the worldwide, not confined to any country. China has outside support to many other nations surrounding to Indian region just to capture the boundaries of India. That's why they are supporting the many countries who are financially weak. I am openly to take the name of these countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and you can see the condition of these countries. These countries are now in form of bankruptcy, and they are not in a position to pay out the debt they have already taken from the China. So when you are investing the money in these countries, so you have to face the recession. Secondly, during the pandemic, they have invest a lot of money on the cure and for the providing the best health facility to the citizens of Chinese. And as you are talking about the war between the Russia, China, and Taiwan, uh, it is also following the same pattern as followed by Mr. Putin that he wants to make the single power and a strong power and country. And I think the war is not the solution for anything. And if this war happens between Taiwan and China, then you can know what will be the worst condition happens for the China because it is already in great recession right now.
Thank you.
Students, any questions?
Okay, may I have, it's Sergey, may I have a question? If the world economy, first of all, is struggling because of the invasion of Russia, could it be better for the entire world to make more pressure on Russia to stop the war and stop struggling from economy problems?
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And I think this is a good question or good suggestion for the entire world or the nation that if already we are knowing that entire world is suffering from the supply chain and many other ways that food products are not available easily to them and the prices are rising day by day. If the entire world unites together and talk to Russia for stopping this war or invasion, I think the conditions will be not as worse as we can think will happen in future. Because this is almost a year ago since the war break out, and till now the entire world is suffering with the great inflationary condition right now. The prices of each and everything in entire world is increasing so rapidly that it is beyond the reach of the common people. And if the entire world unites together and forcefully or softly or with any way that feels convenient, they can talk to the Prime President of Russia to stop the war and make the world a peaceful globe for the citizens of the entire world.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Students who has question? Nobody. Oля, you have question or not?
A lot of questions was already asked, but I don't have questions.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Thank you, our students. Thank you very much. And I hope we see each other very soon after our victory.
Yeah. I would, in the end, I would like to thanks to Tatiana for inviting me for the guest lecture for the department, and I would also like to thanks to the rector of the university for giving me this opportunity to share my views in such a difficult period of time. And I, as Tatiana has already said, that I am a very good friend with this university, and as and when my any support or help is required, I'm always there for the help of this university and the peoples of Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Thank you, students.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
When will be the next lecture?
Professor, when will be the next lecture?
It depends on Tatiana when she wants me to deliver another lecture. She can drop me a mail and I will be available for you.
Okay, maybe in the next month, maybe. When Professor
Sure.
has time.
No, no, no. I always have a time for all of you. It doesn't matter.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you. We're looking forward for new lecture, and thank
Yeah,
you very
sure.
much. It was very
Sure,
interesting.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a nice week.
Mhm.
Thank you. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Mhm. So, students, thank you. Thank you, Professor. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.